There's a moment almost everyone experiences, a moment that arrives without warning. One day, your phone won't stop buzzing. They're sending you memes, replying within seconds, finding excuses just to keep the conversation going. It feels effortless. Then something changes. Not overnight, not after a huge argument, just slowly. The replies become shorter. The excitement disappears. Your messages stay on seen. You tell yourself they're probably just busy. But a few days become a few weeks, and eventually, the person who once couldn't wait to talk to you feels like a complete stranger. That's when the questions begin. Did I do something wrong? Did they meet someone else? Was I not enough? Most people spend months searching for answers. Some blame themselves. Some blame the other person. But psychology tells a much more interesting story. People rarely lose interest because of one dramatic event. Interest usually fades the same way. A candle burns out, quietly. So quietly that neither person notices it's happening until the room is already dark. And that's exactly why it hurts. Because you can't fix something you never saw breaking. Today, we're going to uncover what actually happens inside the human mind when attraction, curiosity, or emotional connection begin to fade. Not myths, not dating tricks, not manipulation. Real psychological patterns that influence the way people connect with one another. Some of these patterns have been studied for decades. Others are simply parts of human nature that most people never stop to think about. And there's a good chance you've experienced every single one of them without realizing it. Let's start with the biggest misconception of all. Most people believe that attraction disappears because someone changed. But in reality, the first thing that usually disappears isn't attraction, it's curiosity. Think back to the beginning of any friendship, any relationship, even your favorite TV show. In the beginning, everything feels unpredictable. Every conversation reveals something new. Every message brings a small surprise. Your brain doesn't know what's coming next, and that's exactly what makes it exciting. Neuroscientists have found that the brain responds strongly to novelty and anticipation. When something feels new, we're often more motivated to pay attention and stay engaged. But the brain has another habit. It adapts. What once felt exciting eventually becomes familiar. The joke that once made you laugh doesn't hit quite the same after the 10th time. The song you couldn't stop playing eventually becomes background noise. The same thing can happen in relationships. Not because someone suddenly became less valuable, but because the brain quietly stopped treating the experience as something new. This idea is closely related to what psychologists call hedonic adaptation, our tendency to become accustomed to positive experiences over time. That doesn't mean healthy relationships are doomed to become boring. It means lasting relationships often depend on continuing to grow, discover new things together, and avoid becoming emotionally stagnant. Here's where many people make a painful mistake. They try to become more available, more predictable, more accommodating. They think, if I'm always there for them, they'll never leave. But sometimes, the opposite happens. Not because kindness pushes people away, but because predictability slowly replaces curiosity. And once curiosity disappears, the brain quietly starts looking for it somewhere else. But that's only the beginning. Because curiosity doesn't disappear on its own. Something else quietly replaces it. And almost nobody notices it until it's already changed the relationship forever. Think about the last person you genuinely enjoyed spending time with. What made them different? It probably wasn't their appearance. It wasn't the expensive clothes they wore, or the car they drove. More often than not, it was the way they made you feel. You felt understood, heard, interesting, important. Psychologists have known for years that people don't simply remember conversations. They remember emotions. You might forget the exact words someone said 5 years ago, but you'll still remember how they made you feel after the conversation ended. That's because emotional experiences leave a much stronger impression than ordinary information. Now imagine 2 relationships. In the first, every conversation ends with laughter. You feel relaxed. You feel accepted. You leave every interaction feeling a little happier than before. In the second relationship, every conversation becomes a problem to solve. Someone is always complaining, always arguing, always asking for reassurance, always bringing emotional stress into the room. At first, you don't mind, you care about them, you want to help, so you listen, again, and again, and again. But something strange begins to happen. Without realizing it, your brain starts connecting that person with emotional exhaustion. The moment their name appears on your phone, you feel tired before you've even opened the message. Not because you hate them, because your brain has learned a pattern. This conversation will probably leave me drained. Most people think attraction disappears because someone stopped caring. Sometimes, people pull away because every interaction has quietly become emotionally expensive. Healthy relationships aren't happy all the time. Arguments happen, stress happens, life happens. But over time, the positive emotional experiences need to outweigh the negative ones. Otherwise, the brain slowly begins protecting its own energy. This doesn't only happen in romantic relationships. It happens between friends, co-workers, even family members. Have you ever noticed how some people instantly make a room feel lighter, and others, without saying anything negative, somehow make the entire atmosphere feel heavy? That's emotional association. Your brain is constantly asking one silent question. How do I usually feel after spending time with this person? Not how attractive are they? Not how successful are they? Just how do they make me feel? That answer quietly shapes whether your brain wants more of the relationship or less. Now here's where almost everyone gets it wrong. When they feel someone pulling away, they start trying harder. They send longer messages, more compliments, more apologies, more attention. They believe, if I give them more, they'll become interested again. Sometimes that works, but more often it has the opposite effect. Because attention isn't the same thing as value. Imagine your favorite song. Now imagine hearing it every 5 minutes, every single day, for the next 6 months. Would you still love it? Probably not. Not because it became a bad song, because your brain adapted to it. Psychologists call this habituation. The more often we're exposed to the same stimulus without meaningful change, the less strongly we respond to it. The same principle influences everyday relationships. When every conversation becomes identical, every compliment becomes expected, every interaction follows the same routine, the brain stops paying attention, not out of cruelty, out of efficiency. Human attention naturally shifts toward what feels new, meaningful, or emotionally significant. That's why the happiest long-term relationships usually keep creating new experiences together. Not because novelty is everything, but because growth keeps curiosity alive, and curiosity keeps emotional attention alive. But there's another reason people suddenly lose interest, one that's much harder to notice, because it doesn't begin with what you do. It begins with the story the other person starts telling themselves about who you are. And once that story changes, everything else changes with it. Have you ever met someone who seemed to change overnight? At first, they were warm, curious, present. Then, little by little, they became distant, and you couldn't understand why. Here's what most people never realize. Human beings don't respond to reality. They respond to the story they create about reality. Think about the first time you met someone you admired. Every small thing they did seemed interesting. You noticed the way they laughed, the way they spoke. Even their little habits felt charming. Now imagine 6 months later. That same laugh feels a little louder than before. The same habit starts becoming annoying. The same personality now feels predictable. Did they actually change? Or did the story inside your mind change? Psychologists call this expectation bias. Once our expectations shift, we begin interpreting the same behavior in completely different ways. Imagine a coworker who's always 5 minutes late. If you believe they're hardworking, you might think, traffic must have been bad. But if you already believe they're lazy, your brain tells a different story. There they go again. They never take anything seriously. Same behavior, different interpretation. This happens in relationships more often than people realize. In the beginning, people naturally focus on your best qualities. Your confidence becomes attractive. Your independence feels mysterious. Your ambition feels inspiring. But over time, if emotional connection starts weakening, the brain quietly begins searching for evidence that supports a new story. Suddenly, confidence becomes arrogance. Independence becomes emotional distance. Ambition becomes being too busy. Nothing about you necessarily changed. The lens changed. And once the lens changes, everything viewed through it begins to change too. That's why one misunderstanding rarely ends a healthy relationship. It's usually dozens of tiny moments that slowly rewrite the story inside someone's mind. One forgotten promise, one canceled plan, one conversation that felt dismissive. Each moment is small, almost forgettable. But together, they begin forming a new narrative. And once that narrative feels true, the brain starts filtering everything through it. This is one reason first impressions are powerful. But ongoing impressions are even more important. Every interaction either strengthens the story someone already believes, or gently begins changing it. Now, here's something uncomfortable. Most people never notice when the story starts changing, because they're too busy defending themselves. But I didn't mean it that way. You're misunderstanding me. That's not who I am. Maybe they're right. But psychology teaches us something important. People don't react to intentions. They react to experiences. Your intentions belong to you. Their experience belongs to them. That's why two people can walk away from the exact same conversation, remembering it completely differently. Neither person is necessarily lying. Their brains simply stored different emotional experiences. So if you feel someone becoming distant, instead of asking, "What's wrong with them?" try asking, "What experience might they be having that I'm not seeing?" That question won't solve every relationship, but it often opens doors that blame never will. And now we arrive at the biggest misunderstanding of all. People spend so much time trying to stop others from losing interest that they forget to ask a much more important question. Why does anyone stay interested in the first place? Because the answer has very little to do with perfect looks, perfect words, or perfect timing, and almost everything to do with something much deeper. Here's the truth almost nobody wants to hear. People don't stay because you never make mistakes. They don't stay because you're the funniest person in the room. And they certainly don't stay because you're perfect. They stay because being with you continues to add something meaningful to their lives. Think about the people who have remained close to you for years. It's probably not because every conversation was exciting or because every day was unforgettable. It's because, over time, your presence became associated with something positive: trust, peace, respect, safety, laughter. Psychologists often talk about the importance of emotional safety in healthy relationships. It's the feeling that you can be yourself without constantly fearing rejection, ridicule, or emotional punishment. When people feel emotionally safe, they naturally become more open. They share more, laugh more, trust more. And over time, that emotional safety becomes stronger than excitement alone. Because excitement fades, novelty fades, even attraction changes. But feeling understood, that's much harder to replace. Now think about the opposite. Imagine constantly worrying about saying the wrong thing, wondering if every message will start an argument, feeling judged every time you express an opinion, walking on eggshells. How long would you want to stay in a relationship that feels like that? Probably not very long. Not because you stopped caring, because your nervous system became exhausted. This is something psychologists sometimes describe through the lens of emotional regulation and relationship satisfaction. People are more likely to stay connected when interactions consistently leave them feeling respected, understood, and emotionally secure. Now here's the mistake many people make. When someone starts losing interest, they focus entirely on getting that person back. They replay old conversations, read every message again, look for hidden meanings, wonder what they should have said differently, and while they're searching for answers, they stop growing. Ironically, the one thing that often makes someone more interesting over time is continuing to build a meaningful life outside the relationship, learning new skills, making new memories, pursuing goals, spending time with friends, not to make someone jealous, not to win them back, but because growth changes the way you experience yourself. And people are naturally drawn to those who have purpose. Purpose creates confidence. Confidence changes the way you communicate, the way you carry yourself, the way you respond to challenges. In other words, the healthiest relationships usually involve two complete people, not two people trying to complete each other. And that's one of the biggest psychological shifts you can make. Stop asking, how do I stop people from losing interest in me? Start asking, am I becoming someone who continues to grow? Because growth keeps curiosity alive. Growth creates new experiences. Growth gives people new reasons to admire you, not because you're changing for them, but because you're changing for yourself. Why do people suddenly lose interest? Sometimes it's because curiosity quietly fades. Sometimes emotional exhaustion slowly replaces excitement. Sometimes the story they tell themselves about you changes. Sometimes life changes them in ways you can't control. And sometimes two people simply grow in different directions. That's painful, but it's also human. The goal isn't to become someone that nobody could ever leave. That person doesn't exist. The goal is to build relationships where both people continue choosing each other, not out of obligation, fear, or habit, but because being together continues to make both lives richer. If this video changed the way you think about relationships, subscribe to Dark Psychology Decode. Every week, we'll uncover the hidden psychology behind attraction, influence, emotions, habits, confidence, and the invisible patterns that shape human behavior. Because once you understand how the mind really works, you stop chasing explanations, and you start seeing the patterns that were there all along. Until next time, stay curious, keep observing, and remember, people rarely leave because of one moment. They leave because of a story that changed one chapter at a time. The question is, what story are the people in your life writing about you today?